Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasury's digital conference. It's just before 9 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm excited to welcome to the stage Richard Byworth. Richard, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Tim. I'm pleased I got you in the early part of this because I imagine you're going to need a few stiff coffees by the end of it.
Yes, absolutely. We have coffee now and coffee later. What time is it across the globe there where you're sitting?
We're 3 p.m. here in sunny Switzerland. Yeah.
Oh, great. And it's sunny today? That's great.
Well, yeah. I mean, Switzerland has these funny summers these days. We're sunny for a couple of weeks and then we pour with rain for a couple of weeks. So I think it's all the lakes, you know.
Got it. That makes sense. For those not familiar, can you walk through your background and your journey to Bitcoin, to Syz Capital, to interviewing the Simon Garoviches of the world?
Sure, yeah. Very quickly got into Bitcoin in 2017. Didn't properly understand it until late 2018, at which point became a bit of a Bitcoin maxi. Unfortunately, I was running a crypto company at that point, so sort of had a value misalignment. So for the good of my investors, I pushed the company as far as I could and then stepped down at the end of 2021. I then joined Syz Capital tail end of 2022 to look after the hedge fund business and have been building out alpha products in the digital asset space, most recently with the launch of a Bitcoin-denominated fund of crypto hedge funds. We're about to reopen that on the 1st of October for new investment after being closed for 6 months. I also run Seize the Future podcast, which tries to talk about elements of the future, thinking about our kids, what's coming next, but also how to allocate capital in a rapidly changing world. And obviously the answer is very often Bitcoin. I started getting focused on the Bitcoin Treasury space when my family I was looking after, we couldn't get their UK pension into Microstrategy, into any Bitcoin related ETFs. So we got into Microstrategy as soon as Saylor announced that. And then I've been following it ever since and got into Metaplanet relatively early, thanks to knowing Simon from Asia days. I was in Asia for a large proportion of my career. And then I've really been helping people understand sort of some of the various financial engineering tools, particularly convertible bonds that are used by the Bitcoin treasuries. So I think that's how I ended up becoming a someone that you would want on this show, Tim.
Awesome. What's your reaction and commentary around the latest strategy earnings call where they put forward quite a bit of guidance, especially around MNAV?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to know how that will play out game theoretically long term. You know, do people just naturally always want to sell it at a 2.5 times MNAV? But I think, you know, it is important to also let people know that there is no selling from the company at a certain MNAV point. There's been lots of fierce debates about, you know, whether or not you should smash the MNAV. I've had a lot of debate about it as well as thinking about it. You know, and I do agree with Saylor very strongly that we are in a Bitcoin gold rush right now. And, you know, these Bitcoin treasury companies are really expediting that. So I think it's just really important that aggression is front and center for these companies. Obviously, Saylor has a different, you know, he has various different tools in his playbook that others don't necessarily have yet. You know, the equity preferred market is not a route that every company can take. But it is certainly a route that he has managed to finesse very beautifully with the 4 different offerings that he has. And I think that will be providing a guidebook to many other companies. But, you know, that means he can completely lean away from the ATM and still keep accumulating Bitcoin. I think what's going to be interesting is to see what he does when he has the opportunity to do something about the convertible bonds. Because I think he's become more public in saying that he's not a big fan of the use of this instrument. Obviously, it creates a seller of his stock in terms of the hedging. And, you know, sometimes there is the risk potentially of pinning around certain strikes, although I don't think that's going to be a major concern. But he has definitely implied that he won't be using the converts again. And I had a as you mentioned, I had Simon on the show a couple of times where I pressed him quite hard on convertible bonds and the need to issue them. I think, I get the concern about fiat denomination within those convertible bonds, and that creates a debt load that is not as optimal as what you can do with the preferred equity. I think it makes a lot of sense what he's thinking there. So I think that any early Bitcoin Treasury company that is looking to transition into equity preferreds could start with using converts, but needs to get them off the balance sheet once that preferred strategy starts to play out. So I do concur with Seda on that.
Would you agree with the statement that every single one of these Bitcoin Treasury companies should be basically running as fast as they can towards $100 million market cap so that they can start launching preferred products, and that's kind of the goal, or is that, would you say it's kind of that it's not accurate as an overarching statement that different companies may go in different directions, or what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think the company needs to move as fast as it possibly can at the beginning to create an MNAV premium that is more accretive to the company in the case of equity dilution. It depends on the market and the investor base that is looking specifically at that currency market, what the market capitalization of the company would need to be to start listing or issuing preferreds. I've been helping a few companies thinking about this, and I think that it does depend entirely on the pension market, because the pensions obviously still often sit with these 60-40 portfolios, as you see with other institutional investors as well, but the pensions tend to be the drivers of them. So the pensions have to be comfortable with the market capitalization and implicit credit of the company to be able to say, what the market cap might be. So I don't know if 100 million market cap is the right answer. I think it's probably likely to be closer to $1 billion for most. But to answer your question, I do believe that, torque and high speed at the beginning generate a higher MNAV, which self-perpetuates into a higher accretion or value accretion for the shareholders. So I think, yes, there's no question that aggression at the beginning is essential.
If you were starting a Bitcoin Treasury company from scratch, and let's just say you're in a jurisdiction that is the US or London or somewhere reasonably favorable in today's environment, putting your individual hat on, how would you create it from the operational side? Would it be something that's like a digital first Bitcoin native sort of company, or what other aspects from the operational side do you think are like almost the best ideas maybe at this point in time in your view?
It's a great question. I would say that you've got two choices. One, you go with a pure play, like a holding company that is really just focusing on financial engineering and focusing on massive Bitcoin accretion. Or alternatively, you have a company that's already there. I would say that you do need that company to be healthy. You do need that company to at least be washing its own face. And I would like to see that company have an accretive benefit of a Bitcoin treasury underneath it. And I think, there are plenty of companies that are out there today that are now reviewing this. Obviously, zombie companies that are loss-making, they're not in the best position to do this because their loss-making company is going to be a bleed on the Bitcoin treasury, which is not what you want. You actually want a healthy business to be able to generate more Bitcoin accumulation during a bear market where MNAV may dip as low as 1 or even in some cases a discount. So I would say you've really got two choices. As I said, that pure play Bitcoin holding company with financial engineering really as a key focus, or a company that is probably not going to be too painful for the founding team to manage, and they can manage with a small operational team, and that can in itself be accretive to Bitcoin accumulation in that it's cash flow positive.
Are there themes in addition to AI that you see woven into the conversations that you're having, both privately and on your podcast? And how do you see Bitcoin and AI and any other topic that's kind of thematic right now, all kind of playing together?
Yeah, it's another great question and really pertinent, because I'm about to release a podcast on Syz Future about how AI is massively impacting people's long-term careers, safe jobs that we considered, lawyers, engineers, doctors, are going to be completely disrupted, almost entirely, if not completely. And how do you guide your kids through that massive shift in the economic landscape and labor markets? So it's a very pertinent question that you're asking, because we're releasing a podcast in just a short period of time about that subject. But of course, Bitcoin, how does Bitcoin link to that? Well, I'm a big fan of that video, Bitcoin is Generational Wealth. And if you think about the future, and when you have such massive disruption as we're going through with AI, that if you have a monetary system that is not constantly being deflated away, or inflated away, I should say, then you've got security for your family, and you can provide security for the future. And I think that Bitcoin will become more important as an inheritance, just sort of a foundational piece of wealthy families, to be able to pass on wealth to their future generations. I'm not necessarily saying that that means everyone can stop working, but I do think that it will become a core tool when you're seeing the amount of disruption that we're going to see to the labor markets.
Where can people find you and Syz Capital and the podcast?
Sure, I'm on Twitter. I'm most active on Twitter of all the social media. So I use @Richard Byworth. Syz Capital is the same, @Syz Capital, SYZ. And then the podcast is Syz the Future. It's on all the normal podcast channels, but obviously Syz spelled SYZ. So Syz the Future. And we look at, as I said, really problems with the world, how we're going to see solutions come, and how you invest capital to propagate those solutions.
Awesome. Richard Byworth, really appreciate your time. Appreciate you joining us, and hope we can do this again sometime very soon.
Thanks, Tim. It's always a pleasure to chat, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Stampseed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase.
That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026 for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin Treasury phenomenon.